Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining on this very strange day, one of many we've had. You know, I think history tells us that political organizations, political parties go insane the same way people do. And that's what's happened to the Republican Party. I mean, this latest of RFK Jr. basically trying to undo all of the work that's been done to make America healthy, to make it safer, to make uh, the idea that a pandemic is not going to devastate us. He's This guy is somebody who is in charge of America's health. I wrote an article about Lincoln Square that I hope you'll read. Um, talks about RFK Jr. and talks about the Republican Party's culpability in this and responsibility, and talks about Senator Cassidy. You know, let's start out though by talking about RFK Jr. This is one of the saddest figures in American public life. I mean, a guy who suffered unbelievable tragedy when he lost his father, but has spent his life making terrible choices on all fronts, including personal choices involving his health. It's not just that he was a heroin addict and a drug dealer. I mean, we have a certain understanding now of addiction and that it's a disease. But as an adult, he continues to defend it. It worked for me. Think about it. A guy who, for a lot of his adult life, was shooting heroin, who dealt drugs in college, who says that heroin worked for him, is now the person who's trying to tell you and stop you from making choices for your own family involving vaccines. That's utter insanity. Now, it's easy to blame just Donald Trump for this, and we should. But it's the Republican Party who confirmed this guy. And there's one person in particular, I think, where the responsibility lies, and that's Senator Bill Cassidy from Louisiana, because he's a doctor. Now, there was a time when he was a young doctor, when Bill Cassidy, who's a state senator, was very involved in trying to make sure schools, particularly those in underprivileged areas, could get vaccines. Right? And now he's the same person who's casting the deciding vote to put RFK Jr. in a position to kill vaccine programs. Well, I don't understand this about human nature. I mean, he took a Hippocratic oath to defend patients, to always do no harm. And RFK Jr. is on track to kill more people than all the mass shooters. And today's another day after a mass shooting in America, another sad day. But all the mass shootings together are going to come close to killing the people that RFK Jr., if this is allowed to continue, is going to kill. And that's going to be at Bill Cassidy's feet. He could have stopped this. Trump would have picked somebody else if Republicans had stood up to him and said, look, we're just not going to do this. This is clearly a mentally unbalanced person, a sad figure. His own family says that he's dangerous. We're not going to put this guy in charge of America's health. And here we are. He is. And one of the weird things about this is, you can say a lot about Donald Trump, and I do, and we do at Lincoln Square and at Lincoln Project. But his greatest achievement was Operation Warp Speed. And he knows it. Here, we have a clip of him talking about it.
The past 9 months, my administration has initiated the single greatest mobilization in U.S. history, pioneering, developing, and manufacturing therapies and vaccines in record time. Numbers like nobody's seen before. No medical breakthrough of this scope and magnitude has ever been achieved this rapidly, this quickly, and we're very proud of it and had tremendous help from the military.
It's Donald Trump's greatest achievement. You have to give them credit for this. And of course, everybody in the United States and the world that helped contribute to this. This was sort of a Manhattan Project level achievement, a national emergency, and people running to try to create a new, brilliant solution. And it saved millions of lives. And now, what does Donald Trump and does MAGA not realize that what RFK Jr. is doing is attacking the greatest legacy, the positive legacy? The history will agree that Donald Trump left. I mean, don't they ask themselves, like, who's this guy, RFK Jr.? He's a lifelong Democrat. He's in there. And now he's undoing what our president, our MAGA president, was his greatest achievement. That's really okay with them? The whole thing's just insane. And it doesn't have to be this way. It could end this afternoon. If Republicans stood up and said, no, we're not going to do this. You know, there was a time when we, as Republicans, when I was a Republican, we called ourselves the family values. And what greater family value is there than protecting the health of your own family? And that's now at risk, grave risk, at what he's going to do. And who's going to be hurt the most by this? It's going to be those at the lower end of the economic spectrum, including a lot of MAGA voters. The core base of MAGA is non-college educated white folks. And those people tend to be at the lower end of the economic spectrum. It's not going to be the kids going to Choate and Andover and Exeter who are not getting vaccinated. It's going to be the kids who are going to public high schools, like the one where, and another version of who he was, Bill Cassidy helped as a state senator and as a doctor. Those are the ones who are going to suffer. They're the ones who are not going to be able to game the system to get vaccines. They're not going to have private doctors. They're not going to have concierge doctors that will give them vaccines. It's just a tragedy. So I would just urge everybody to do whatever they can to contact their member of Congress. Call a Republican. Call Bill Cassidy's office. Because, you know, I worked on the Hill like a lot of people, and they actually care about this stuff. They do care about public opinion. And this is just insane, and it has to stop. So thanks for listening. I hope you'll read my piece, and let's keep at it. Thanks.